Chapter 231. After a moment of contemplation, Songwen decided to send the sacred goo in first to scout. The 6 sacred goo entered the dense spiritual mist from different directions. As soon as the sacred goo went a few meters into the mist, Songwen lost contact with them and could no longer sense their existence. A few breaths later, the 6 sacred goo emerged from the mist in the opposite directions they entered, without finding any trace of Du Tianhua. Seeing this, Songwen immediately decided not to waste time on Du Tianhua. Devouring the blood snake was more urgent. He instructed the 6 sacred goo to guard the mist from different directions, then turned and darted toward the devouring soul formation. No one was activating the devouring soul formation, nor was it temporarily sealed, and the blood snake inside showed signs of slowly dissipating. Songwen approached the blood snake and plunged his hands into its body. Massive amounts of vital blood and a surge of spiritual energy flowed into Songwen's body. The longevity technique automatically began circulating within him, madly absorbing this external spiritual energy. The spiritual energy was exceptionally pure and identical to the spiritual energy of Songwen's longevity technique, making it extremely easy to refine, so easy that refining wasn't even necessary. The spiritual energy flowed through Songwen's meridians and naturally merged with his existing longevity technique energy, circulating throughout his body before finally settling in his dantian. Songwen's cultivation level began to rise at a visible speed. Songwen's eyes brightened. Hadn't expected that devouring the blood snake would bring such a pleasant surprise. Perhaps this was why, when he first saw the blood snake, he had felt an overwhelming urge to devour it. Songwen immediately sat cross-legged and fully activated the longevity technique, refining the spiritual energy from the blood snake at the same time. He summoned the Silver Corpse and Black Armor Ghost King to guard him as protectors. His vital blood and cultivation rapidly increased, a scene that felt somewhat familiar to Songwen. Upon recalling, Songwen realized that when he had killed Shou devoured his vital blood, there had also been a surge of spiritual energy absorbed into his body afterward. Songwen speculated that it might have been because both he and Shou had cultivated the Corpse King blood refining technique, allowing him to absorb some of the spiritual energy from Shou's body. At the time, Songwen had also devoured the vital blood of 8 other qi refining cultivators of the Corpse King blood refining technique, but did not absorb any spiritual energy from them, likely because their cultivation levels were too low. Of course, this was only Songwen's speculation, and he wasn't sure if it was right or wrong. Since then, he hadn't encountered anyone else cultivating the Corpse King blood refining technique, leaving him unable to verify it. The Corpse King blood refining technique and the longevity technique were 2 completely different cultivation methods. One was an evil demonic technique, while the other was a proper Taoist method. Yet, when Songwen devoured vital blood, he was able to absorb some spiritual energy from it in both cases, which was indeed strange and bizarre. As Songwen's thoughts wandered, he suddenly realized that the spiritual energy of the longevity technique had grown to the peak of the foundation establishment early stage. At this point, the blood snake, originally more than 2 meters long, had only 1 meter left. Realizing that he was about to break through to the mid-stage of foundation establishment, Songwen felt a surge of joy and continued to refine the spiritual energy, devouring more from the blood snake in his dantian. The spiritual energy of the longevity technique condensed into a vortex of white spiritual liquid, suddenly expanding several times in size. Songwen's cultivation surged explosively. Everything fell into place naturally. Songwen smoothly broke through to the mid-stage of foundation establishment. However, with over half a meter of the blood snake remaining, Songwen's cultivation continued to grow rapidly. At the same time, he felt a sense of swelling and pain in his body, a result of absorbing too much vital blood. Enduring the discomfort in his body, Songwen continued to devour the blood snake. After a little over a quarter of an hour, the blood snake was completely consumed. Songwen opened his eyes, unable to hide the joy within them. The longevity technique had just barely reached the early stage of foundation establishment, but to his Surprise, it advanced to the mid-stage before the Corpse King blood refining technique and was now not far from the late stage of foundation establishment. The swelling pain in his body grew stronger, giving him a feeling as if he might explode. This was not the place to reverse his blood energy and expel the excess, so Songwon endured the discomfort. Using his spiritual sense to connect with the sacred goo, he found out that there was still no sign of Du Tianhua. The area covered by the concealing spiritual mist was relatively flat and open. Unless Du Tianhua had the ability to tunnel underground, there was no way he could escape the 6 insects' surveillance. Du Tianhua was still hiding in the mist. Songwon instructed the sacred goo to continue monitoring the mist, then turned to look at Su Qian, Taoist Qing'en, and Su Wenshi's corpse because Su Wenshi had reached the peak of foundation establishment. His soul remained intact and had not yet dissipated. Taoist Qing'en, who had been mutilated into a human swine, was in increasingly worse condition, her breath faint and on the verge of death. Su Qian, having secretly taken healing pills during Song Wen's battle with Du Tianhua, had improved significantly. He was no longer on the brink of death, though he still had little to no fighting strength left. Songwon approached Su Wenshi's corpse, thrusting his hand into Su Wenshi's shattered skull. Time was short, so Songwon skipped soul-searching and directly devoured his soul. Afterward, he used a corpse-sealing technique to preserve Su Wenshi's body, preventing it from rotting or his vital blood from leaking out. At this point, Songwon did not dare to continue devouring any more blood. With his short spear in hand, Songwon coldly approached Su Qian. Su Qian's expression turned terrified. Fellow Taoist, you and I are strangers with no grudges between us. Spare me, please. In this valley, I've hidden a large stash of spirit stones and spiritual herbs. If you let me live, all the treasures I've collected over the years will be yours. Songwon acted as if he hadn't heard, thrusting his short spear directly into Su Qian's head. I know the secret of the ancient longevity palace. The short spear pierced Su Qian's skull, and a surge of lightning exploded, instantly shattering his head into pieces. Songwon pressed his hand over the wound where Su Qian's head had burst, preparing to devour his soul. What he didn't expect was for Su Qian's soul to voluntarily rush out of his body, attempting to invade Songwen's sea of consciousness. You little brat, you dare destroy my body. I will take over your soul and possess your body. Though your cultivation is low, your physical body is quite light. Songwon smirked, not this again. In his sea of consciousness, a black hole flashed briefly, pulling Su Qian's soul into it. Having dealt with Su Qian, Songwon walked over to Taoist Qing'en. Seeing Songwon appear in her field of vision, a glimmer of hope flashed in Taoist Qing'en's eyes. Save me. I am a golden core cultivator of the Beastmaster sect, named Qing'en. If you save me, I'll reward you with many spirit stones and treasures. Songwen's lips curled into a sinister smile. You're the one I came to kill. With a hand as hard as iron claws, he pierced Taoist Qing'en's chest. Why? Taoist Qing'en's face was filled with disbelief. She couldn't understand why the stranger was determined to wipe her out. Songwen responded coldly, do you remember the Foundation establishment cultivator you chased outside East Huafang Market? The one who cultivated the longevity technique? Chapter 232. It's you. Taoist Qing'en was filled with regret. Her final thought before her last breath was that perhaps she should never have gotten involved in Su Qian's life extension plan from the start. If she hadn't, she wouldn't have ended up in this situation today. A suction force emerged from Songwen's hand, pulling the soul of Taoist Qing'en into his sea of consciousness. A black hole appeared in the sea of consciousness, devouring her soul. Using the secret art of the corpse path, Songwen sealed the bodies of Su Qian and Taoist Qing'en. He took out the corpse-nurturing coffin and placed all 3 corpses, including Su Wenshi's, inside it. He also collected Taoist Qing'en's severed limbs one by one. These 3 bodies were excellent materials for refining corpse puppets. They couldn't be wasted. Even if Songwen had no use for them, selling them on the black market would fetch a good price. Songwen then went to the place where Su Anqing had been killed. Su Anqing had been cut into pieces by Du Tianhua's sword, his body shattered beyond repair, making it worthless for corpse refining. However, his soul still remained inside his head, which Songwen devoured. After searching around, Songwen didn't find Su Anqing's storage ring. It must have been taken by Du Tianhua. After collecting all the benefits he could, Songwon approached the concealing mist. The sixth sacred goose still hadn't seen any sign of Du Tianhua emerging. Could it be that he's injured too badly and is hiding in the mist to heal? Songwon speculated. The longer he stayed here, the greater the variables, which would only put Songwon at a disadvantage. Songwon decided to enter the mist again and search. If he couldn't find Du Tianhua, he would have to give up. Du Tianhua was severely injured and was likely hiding somewhere, healing in secret. The area covered by the concealing mist was flat and open, so the most likely place for Du Tianhua to hide was underground. He might have dug out a secret underground cave and concealed himself inside. As long as he camouflaged the entrance well enough, hiding the traces of digging, the mist would block spiritual senses, making it difficult to discover him. This time, it was the Ghost King who entered the mist to search. The six sacred gu, the silver corpse, and Songwon were positioned at various points outside the mist, monitoring the situation. The Ghost King entered the mist, wielding a ghost sword. He slashed continuously at the ground, sending sword energy formed from ghostly chi several meters deep into the soft earth, easily cutting 10 meters underground and scattering the soil. The Ghost King circled the edges of the mist, moving toward the center. As it spiraled inward, it moved quickly, and within a few dozen breaths, most of the area covered by the mist had been overturned, leaving only a small patch at the center untouched. In the center of the mist, a patch of turf moved, and Du Tianhua's head emerged from it. He cast a fierce gaze toward the Ghost King, who was making too much noise with its digging. There was no way not to notice. The Ghost King would soon find him. Hiding underground was no longer an option. Du Tianhua crawled out of the ground and extended his spiritual senses to identify his surroundings. He wasn't affected by the concealing mist and could easily sense the positions of the silver corpse and Songwon outside of it. He avoided the areas they were guarding and silently made his way to the edge of the mist. Then, summoning his flying sword, he shot out of the mist at high speed. Du Tianhua's sudden appearance immediately caught Songwen's attention, but he realized he couldn't catch up. Desperate to escape, Du Tianhua disregarded the injuries in his body. Channeling all his power and exploding with his maximum speed, the two sacred gu closest to him couldn't even react in time as he sped past them. Songwen's eyes narrowed. He couldn't let Du Tianhua escape so easily. A surge of blood chi erupted from within his body, and Songwen's figure instantly disappeared into the blood mist. When he reappeared, he was already 100 meters in front of Du Tianhua. This time, using the blood escape technique didn't cause any discomfort for Songwen. On the contrary, after expending some blood chi, his body felt significantly lighter. Songwen tossed the short spear in his hand forward with a thought. The short spear was instantly enveloped in lightning, carrying immense thunderous power as it shot straight for Du Tianhua's face. Seeing Songwen suddenly appear in front of him, Du Tianhua's expression changed drastically. His internal injuries were severe, and his brief healing within the concealing mist had merely suppressed his wounds, preventing them from worsening. At this moment, flying at full speed, he was pushing his body to its limits. If he continued to fight, with one arm and one leg missing, coupled with his internal injuries, his body might collapse under the strain. As the short spear approached, Du Tianhua had no choice but to make a desperate move. Though Songwen only had mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation, without the aid of his silver corpse and Ghost King, Du Tianhua still had a chance to fight. If he could force Songwen back, he could continue his escape. Du Tianhua didn't slow down, forcefully channeling his remaining spiritual power. A flash of dark red sword light slashed toward the short spear. Clang! A piercing sound rang out. Both the dark red flying sword and the short spear were thrown aside. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed from the sky, heading straight for Du Tianhua. Below. At this point, there wasn't enough time for Du Tianhua to recall the dark red flying sword to block the divine thunder. He had no choice but to channel his spiritual power. Wielding his broadsword and striking upward, the lightning was shattered by the strike. Due to forcefully using his spiritual power, Du Tianhua aggravated his internal injuries, causing him to vomit a large mouthful of blood. Even more deadly was the fact that his speed had significantly slowed, allowing the silver corpse to catch up. The silver corpse, like a predator pouncing on its prey, opened its gaping maw, revealing sharp fangs, and bit down on Du Tianhua's right shoulder. Ah! Amid Du Tianhua's painful screams, the The silver corpse yanked hard, tearing his entire right arm off. Immediately after, the silver corpse's sharp claws pierced straight through Du Tianhua's chest. The golden core ancestor of the Du family was dead. After devouring Du Tianhua's soul, Song Wen sealed his body and placed it in the corpse-nurturing coffin. Song Wen then flew to the summit of Qingping Mountain and released all his sacred goo. Moments later, with the help of the sacred goo, Song Wen scanned everything within a radius of 16 miles. Not a single living person could be seen on Qingping Mountain. The remaining Su family cultivators who had survived by luck had already fled to an unknown location. The entire Su family estate on Qingping Mountain had been reduced to rubble and pillaged by the Du family cultivators. Even the ancestral tower at the mountain's peak had been emptied. However, this likely wasn't the work of the Du family but of the surviving members of the Su family. Some of the external cultivators had been killed by the Du family, while others had fled to unknown places. The Su family's spirit fields on the western side of the mountain were in ruins. Most of the spiritual herbs had been completely harvested, leaving only a few common, low-grade herbs. This was likely the work of the Du family as well. However, the mortals in Su family's town had not been heavily affected. The Du family hadn't had time to plunder the town before Taoist Qingyan had driven them off. Most of the townspeople had fled, leaving only the elderly and infirm behind. Song Wen shook his head. There was nothing left on Qingping Mountain worth taking. However, the sacred goo had found 17 foundation establishment corpses. These were the Su family cultivators who had been killed by Taoist Qingyan. The corpses were heavily damaged and of little value, but he did manage to collect 17 storage rings. Chapter 233. 2 hours later, deep inside a cave located 1,000 miles away from Qingping Mountain, Song Wen reversed his qi and blood, forcing out the residual essence blood within his body. He then absorbed the essence blood of the corpses of Su Qian, Taoist Qingyan, Su Wenshi, and Du Tianhua. Afterward, he began to inventory the items within their storage rings. First was Su Qian's storage ring. To Song Wen's surprise and delight, there were quite a few spirit stones inside. 23 top-grade spirit stones, several hundred mid-grade spirit stones, and several thousand low-grade spirit stones. Altogether, their value exceeded 300,000 low-grade spirit stones. Additionally, there were some medicinal pills and cultivation techniques. Suddenly, a gleam of light flashed in Song Wen's eyes. His mind stirred, and he took out a token from within the storage ring. The token was palm-sized, entirely blood-red in color, with the character life engraved on one side. Song Wen then reached into his own storage ring and retrieved another blood-red token of the same size. The two tokens were almost identical, except for the characters engraved on them. The second token bore the character corpse, which Song Wen had obtained after killing Shi Shou. That token recorded the cultivation technique Corpse King Blood Refining Method. It was clear that both tokens originated from the same force. Curious, Song Wen extended his spiritual sense into the life token. The token contained records of the devouring soul formation, including its layout and control method. However, Song Wen knew little about formations and found the devouring soul formation to be extremely profound and difficult to comprehend. At the end of the token's contents, it was mentioned that this formation came from a sect known as the Longevity Palace. Song Wen recalled that Su Qian had mentioned the words Ancient Secret Realm Longevity Palace before his death. It seemed that the Longevity Palace was a sect that had long vanished from history, much like the Divine Bloodgate mentioned in the corpse token in Su Qian's storage ring. Song Wen also found a jade slip, which contained Su Qian's insights on the devouring soul formation and some information about the Longevity Palace. After briefly skimming through it, Song Wen found it uninteresting. He then put away Su Qian's storage ring and took out Taoist Qingyan's. Compared to Su Qian, Taoist Qingyan had fewer spirit stones, only 170,000, but her storage ring was filled with various pills and spiritual herbs. Among them were 20 bottles of beast refining pills, containing 240 pills in total. This solved Song Wen's problem of having insufficient beast refining pills. Lately, he hadn't had time to refine more, and his sacred goo had been consuming bright silver stones for a while now. There were also 2 bottles of a pill called Dragon Power Pill. With a total of 20 pills, These were used to feed spirit beasts, specifically third-tier beasts, as it was a third-tier beast pill. Songwon recognized the dragon power pill and knew its effects thanks to a jade slip left by Rong Jingyun, who had mentioned the pill in her notes while attempting to refine it, though she had not yet succeeded. Aside from the pills and spiritual herbs, many of the items in Taoist Qingyun's storage ring were unfamiliar to Songwon. Next, he moved on to Du Tianhua's storage ring. Du Tianhua had even fewer spirit stones than Taoist Qingyun, less than 120,000. His spiritual herbs and medicinal pills were also limited, giving the ring a somewhat meager appearance. However, Songwon did find some items in Du Tianhua's ring that piqued his interest. The first item was 2 egg-sized white orbs, which contained spirit-concealing mist. The second was a jade slip that recorded a secret technique called Breaking the Darkness technique. This technique wasn't particularly advanced. Foundation establishment stage cultivators could practice it. However, it was extremely valuable because it was a rare technique related to spiritual sense. This was the second time since entering the cultivation world that Songwon had encountered a spiritual sense technique. The first time was on the ancient battlefield, where a pygmy ghost had used a mental attack. The Breaking the Darkness technique was a technique used to probe with spiritual sense, though it had no offensive capabilities. According to its description, once mastered, it could condense the circular, radiating spiritual sense into a line, giving it more penetrating power, useful for investigating places that would normally block spiritual sense. Like the spirit-concealing mist, Du Tianhua had used this technique to move freely within the mist. The third item was another jade slip, this one recording a breath-hiding technique. This technique was quite advanced, but for Songwon, who could already control his aura through physical means, it wasn't particularly useful. Du Tianhua had used this breath-hiding technique to evade Taoist Qingyun's pursuit in the spirit-concealing mist and later to sneak back into the valley, where he was ultimately killed by Songwon. The storage rings of Su Wenshi and Su Anqing were relatively meager. Despite being managers of the Su family, the two had a combined total of less than 100,000 spirit stones. Their spiritual weapons weren't exceptional either. Their flying swords were only top-grade spiritual weapons. Songwon noticed that neither Su Qian nor Du Tianhua possessed any magical treasures. Their weapons were only top-grade spiritual weapons. Only Taoist Qingyun's longsword was a true magical treasure. After sorting through the other 17 storage rings, Songwon categorized all the valuables into his own storage ring. He realized that he now had over 1 million spirit stones, an enormous fortune for a foundation establishment cultivator. He also had items such as blood crystals, various medicinal pills, and herbs, all valued at over 1 million spirit stones. This wealth was enough to sustain his cultivation for a long time without needing to worry about resources, of course. This was only true if all the resources he needed could be bought with spirit stones. After checking the storage rings, Songwon turned his attention to Taoist Qingyun's spirit beast pouch. Since Taoist Qingyun was dead, her imprint on the spirit beast pouch had disappeared. The ironback turtle, which had been nurtured inside the pouch, was now free to enter and exit as it pleased, but it remained inside the pouch without reacting. This could only mean one thing: it was too severely injured and could only stay in the pouch to heal. Songwon had 2 options for dealing with the ironback turtle. The first was to quickly find a suitable buyer and sell the turtle for a large number of spirit stones, though Songwon wasn't familiar with the price of spirit beasts. A living third-tier spirit beast would undoubtedly fetch an astronomical price. The second option was to kill it, eliminating any potential threats. As for contracting the ironback turtle himself, Songwon wasn't interested. He and the turtle were separated by an entire cultivation stage. Even if he forced a soul contract while the turtle was injured, it could break free once it recovered, turning against him. Unless a spirit beast was raised by a cultivator over a long period with emotional bonds forming between them, spirit beasts usually wouldn't exceed a cultivator's level by more than one major stage. After some thought, Songwon decided to kill the ironback turtle. In the short term, he wouldn't be able to find the right person to sell it to. Furthermore, as Taoist Qingyun's spirit beast, many cultivators near the beast-taming sect would likely recognize the ironback turtle. Selling it openly might bring unnecessary trouble. Chapter 234. Songwon walked out of the cave and arrived at a desolate, empty area where no one was around. He placed the spirit beast pouch on the ground and had the Ghost King and the Silver Corpse guard it, ready to attack at any moment. He also deployed 2 sacred goo around the perimeter, on alert for any movement. As for himself, he retreated to a distance of about 20 feet away so that if something unexpected happened, he could quickly use the blood escape technique to flee. With a flash of spiritual power, the Tuzhong, about 6.6 meters long giant turtle suddenly appeared from the spirit beast pouch, covered in scars. The ironback turtle had been gravely injured, and after being placed into the spirit beast pouch by Taoist Qingyan, it had fallen into a deep slumber. Using a unique secret technique of its species to reduce its physical consumption and draw in all available spiritual energy to heal its body, now, suddenly released from the pouch, its secret technique was broken, and the ironback turtle immediately woke up. It quickly realized that its master was already dead. At that moment, it noticed a ghost and a corpse attacking the gaps in its shell, clearly intending to kill it. In the sky, about 20 feet away, a figure stood, staring at it intently. "Don't kill me, I can serve you as my master." A voice suddenly echoed in Song Wen's mind, sounding old and weak, clearly transmitted by the ironback turtle. For a moment, hesitation flashed through Song Wen's mind. Being offered servitude by a third-tier spirit beast was a highly tempting offer. But in the next instant, he discarded the thought. The ironback turtle was far too recognizable, and anyone would immediately know that it had belonged to Taoist Qingyan. Even the spirit beast pouch it resided in had the distinct markings of the beast-taming sect. More importantly, the gap in strength between Song Wen and the turtle was too large, and the two had a blood feud. At any moment, the turtle, with its far superior cultivation, could break the soul contract and retaliate. Seeking revenge for its former master, Taoist Qingyan, Song Wen couldn't afford to keep such a dangerous threat by his side. The ironback turtle was extremely weakened, and the long sword in the Ghost King's hand pierced its body without resistance, releasing a torrent of ghostly energy that ravaged the turtle's insides. On the other side, the Corpse King also struck, tearing through the turtle's flesh with its hands and forcibly ripping off its left front limb. Under the combined assault of the ghost and the corpse, the ironback turtle soon lost its life. What Song Wen didn't notice was that the moment the severely injured ironback turtle appeared, the 2 sacred goo began to stir. As soon as the turtle died, the 2 sacred goo swarmed over, like cats drawn to the smell of fish, drilling into the ironback turtle's body and heading straight for its demon core. The pigeon-egg-sized demon core of the ironback turtle quickly had a large portion gnawed away by the 2 sacred goo. After feasting, the 2 sacred goo wobbled back into Song Wen's body as if they were bloated from overindulgence. Seeing the ironback turtle's demon core rapidly losing its spiritual energy, Song Wen hurriedly performed a corpse-refining secret technique to seal the turtle's body and slow the loss of spiritual energy. Since the sacred goo were interested in the ironback turtle's corpse, he decided to keep it as their food. With the ironback turtle dealt with, Song Wen returned to the cave. He set up the spirit concealment formation and the 9 palaces in array, then began his cultivation. Both the Ghost King and the Silver Corpse were severely injured and needed to be properly nurtured to recover. The materials the Ghost King required for healing were mainly in souls and various ghost path spiritual items. Song Wen had obtained quite a few of these from loose cultivators like Jing Lu, making them perfect for the Ghost King's recovery. TL Jing Lu mentioned in CH 196. As for the materials needed for the Silver Corpse, Song Wen also had no shortage of corpse path items. After refining both with the appropriate materials, the Ghost King settled in the 8 banners Ghost Soul flag, while the Silver Corpse rested in the corpse nurturing coffin. To recover slowly, Song Wen then calmed his mind and began meditating for cultivation. The longevity technique had only been at the foundation establishment stage for 6 months, and just as Song Wen had barely stabilized his cultivation, he made another rapid breakthrough, advancing to the mid-stage of foundation establishment. However, advancing too quickly in cultivation could lead to an unstable foundation. Song Wen needed prolonged meditation and cultivation to solidify his progress. 6 months later, a man and a young woman appeared by a rugged, rocky cliff. The man looked to be in his 40s, with the cultivation level of the 3rd layer of qi refinement. His figure was somewhat thin. The young woman, around 16 or 17 years old, had a cultivation level of the 2nd layer of qi refinement. She was petite and charming. "Father, look, it's wind spirit grass." DL Previously translated as Wind Spirit Flower in Sich 99. The young woman exclaimed in delight, excitedly pointing towards the edge of the cliff while waving her hands. The middle-aged man followed her gaze, about 20 zhang, approximately 66 feet down the cliff. Two stalks of spirit grass, about an inch tall, swayed gently in the wind, growing from a crack in the rock, judging by their appearance. These two stalks of spirit grass were at least 50 years old. Wind spirit grass was a mid-grade first-tier spirit herb, and these two plants were worth at least 20 spirit stones, which was a considerable sum for low-level rogue cultivators like them. The man took out a rope and tied one end to a large boulder on the cliff's edge, securing the other end around his waist. Having spent many years gathering herbs, the man was well aware that this seemingly calm cliff could hide unknown dangers. Strong winds could arise at any time, and venomous snakes or insects lurking in the cracks could deliver a fatal bite. With the rope tied securely, at least he wouldn't have to worry about panicking and falling to his death if something went wrong. Ching-ching, wait here for me. Don't move around. I'll go down and pick the wind spirit grass. The girl, named Ching-ching, nodded eagerly. The middle-aged man moved deftly, like an agile monkey. Climbing down the steep cliff face, Ching-ching paced anxiously at the top, feeling a mixture of joy and worry, concerned for her father's safety. She would occasionally lean over the edge to check on his progress. Before long, the middle-aged man reached the crack where the wind spirit grass grew and easily picked it. Just as he was about to store the herbs in a jade box, he heard his daughter let out a sudden, heart-wrenching scream from above. Looking up, he could no longer see his daughter, but her cries for help echoed down to him. The man's expression changed drastically without a second thought. He produced a yellow talisman, activated it with spiritual power, and soared upward. It was a flight talisman, the only mid-grade first-tier talisman he had, kept for life-threatening situations. When the middle-aged man reached the top of the cliff, he saw that the spot where they had been standing had collapsed, leaving a hole about a zhang 3.3 meters wide. The hole was pitch black inside, making it impossible to see anything clearly. Ching-ching, ching-ching, the man called out loudly while flying down into the hole, disregarding any potential danger that might be lurking inside. The hole wasn't a straight drop. It twisted and turned at some of the bends. He could see fresh scuff marks, clearly left behind when his daughter had fallen. Chapter 235. Song-Wen looked at the unconscious, delicate young girl who had fallen from above, and a wave of restlessness surged within him. The girl had fallen into a coma, with a few scrapes on her body but no serious injuries. Due to the friction from the fall, parts of her clothes had torn, exposing patches of her skin, marked with faint bloodstains. Song-Wen's heart felt as if a gentle hand was stirring his emotions. A trace of desire silently crept into his mind, causing his thoughts to become unsettled and his blood to surge. Since devouring the blood serpent at the Su family estate, Song-Wen had noticed that his vitality had become overwhelmingly vigorous, likely due to the immense life force contained within the blood serpent. Often, during meditation, his abundant energy would cause his blood to surge, and his body would respond inappropriately, forcing him to halt his cultivation. Song-Wen hadn't thought much of it at first. 7 emotions and 6 desires were part of human nature, and even cultivators didn't need to suppress their emotions completely. He figured that over time, as his body gradually absorbed and refined the life force, these desires would naturally fade. Usually, when he was alone in the cave, he would either practice a secret technique or refine a substitute puppet to distract himself, and the desire would temporarily dissipate. But today, at the peak of his vital energy, the appearance of a scantily clad, unconscious young girl in front of him made it difficult for him to control himself as evil fire blazed within him. Meanwhile, the middle-aged male cultivator descended along the cave, dropping about 20 zhang, approximately 66 feet, and finally landed in a spacious underground cave. On the ground, he found his daughter, confirming she had only passed out. His heart settled with relief. However, he soon noticed an invisible barrier near his unconscious daughter. It seemed that when she fell, she had struck the barrier before landing on the ground, which explained why she hadn't been seriously hurt. A sense of unease immediately rose within the middle-aged cultivator. This barrier was clearly part of a defensive formation. It seemed he and his daughter had accidentally stumbled upon a secluded retreat belonging to a powerful cultivator. But why would a powerful figure choose such a desolate, spiritless place to go into seclusion? The only explanation he could think of was that this was the hiding spot of some demonic cultivator, someone practicing forbidden arts who had secluded themselves here in secret. The middle-aged man was instantly on high alert. If he were here alone, he wouldn't mind dying. However, with his young daughter also present, he couldn't allow her to fall into the hands of a demonic cultivator, otherwise she would undoubtedly suffer inhuman torment. He could only pray that their presence had not disturbed the secluded cultivator and that they still had a chance to quietly escape. Without hesitation, he grabbed his unconscious daughter and attempted to flee toward the cave's exit. Suddenly, the barrier dissolved, and a figure cloaked in black mist emerged slowly from the darkness. The sudden appearance of this strange figure made the middle-aged cultivator freeze in place, unable to move. His body stiffened as terror engulfed him and cold sweat drenched his back. The figure raised their hand, and with a wave, the formation barrier vanished, transforming into streams of light that fell into the figure's hand. Then, without a word, the figure disappeared completely from start to finish. The figure hadn't even glanced at him or his daughter. The middle-aged man's legs gave way and he collapsed to the ground. Even though the figure hadn't spoken or shown any hostility, a profound sense of oppression and fear lingered in the cultivator's heart. After a few moments, the middle-aged man regained his composure, picked up his daughter, and fled toward the cave's entrance as quickly as he could. He had no intention of staying in that cave any longer than necessary. Songwon left the cave and flew toward East Hwafang Market. Since he could no longer suppress his desires, he decided to follow his heart. During his seclusion in the cave, he had set up 6 sacred gu to guard the area. It seemed that the father and daughter duo, due to their low cultivation levels, were deemed no threat to Songwon by the bugs, which was why they hadn't been expelled or warned. Half a day later, Songwon disguised himself as a robust man in his 30s and appeared in the alley where he had previously resided. He made his way directly to Zhao Daping's yard and knocked on the gate. Songwon intended to rent a yard. On his way to Zhao Daping's yard, he passed by the place where he had previously lived. That yard had already been rented out due to the expiration of the lease. Even if the yard were still vacant, Songwon had no intention of continuing to live there. Before long, Zhao Daping opened the gate. "Who are you looking for?" Zhao Daping's tone was somewhat impatient. "Hello, Manager Zhao. I'm a new wandering cultivator and would like to rent a yard in this alley," Songwon replied. As he spoke, Songwon took the opportunity to glance inside the courtyard and felt a tinge of disappointment upon not seeing the figure of the mouse-eyed man, Zhao Daping's brother. Where did the mouse-eyed man go? Could it be that he failed in his attempts to raise corpses and had to destroy the evidence? With such questions in mind, Songwon extended his spiritual sense and instantly surveyed Zhao Daping's courtyard. Within Zhao Daping's yard, there was a secret underground chamber where the mouse-eyed man was imprisoned. To Songwon's surprise, the mouse-eyed man was still alive. However, he had been tortured by the miasma of death to the point that he no longer resembled a human. He looked utterly horrifying. His body was emaciated, with skin stretched tight over his bones like a transparent film, and his limbs twisted out like those of a spider, barely supporting his weight. He occasionally emitted unintelligible whimpers. It was unclear what method Zhao Daping had used, but the mouse-eyed man's flesh had been completely eroded by the miasma. Yet a trace of life force remained within him, refusing to dissipate. This left the mouse-eyed man as a grotesque entity that was neither human nor corpse. Songwon cast a deep glance at Zhao Daping, filled with astonishment. How had Zhao Daping managed to allow a non-cultivator to simultaneously possess both miasma and vitality for an extended period without the body collapsing? Even as a corpse cultivation practitioner in the Foundation establishment stage, he believed it would be difficult for him to achieve such a feat. Zhao Daping glanced at Songwon and said, "Recently, many wandering cultivators have come to the market, among which are several who are unidentified rogue cultivators. They have seriously disrupted the order of the market. If there's no one who can vouch for you, this alley is not a place for just anyone to stay. What's your name? What level of cultivation do you have? And can anyone vouch for you?" Songwon smiled. "Manager Zhao, please don't be offended. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Yen Feng, and I'm at the 8th layer of Qi refinement. I'm an alchemist. As he spoke, Song Wen handed a jade vial to Zhao Depeng, which contained 5 essence pills valued at about 50 spirit stones. Zhao Depeng understood and accepted the jade vial, a knowing smile spreading across his face. Since you're an alchemist, it seems unlikely that you're a rogue cultivator committing crimes. You don't need anyone to vouch for you. There's only one vacant yard left in this alley, and it's the one across from us. The monthly rent is 10 spirit stones. Song Wen flipped his hand and produced 30 spirit stones, handing them to Zhao Depeng. From now on, we'll be neighbors. I hope Manager Zhao will look after me. With the benefits received from Song Wen, Zhao Depeng was in a good mood. Of course. Author's note. A brief spoiler. In the following 2 chapters, there will be a particularly explosive plot that some readers might find hard to accept. Chapter 236. After bidding farewell to Zhao Depeng, Song Wen arrived at the rented courtyard. The previous tenant of the courtyard must have left not long ago, as it was still quite clean. After tidying up the courtyard briefly, Song Wen stepped out the door. He needed to buy some daily necessities to make the small courtyard feel more lively. Although he likely wouldn't need these daily items, he still needed to maintain his disguise, lest someone with ulterior motives discover his true identity. After all, he was posing as a Qi refining stage cultivator who needed to eat. As Song Wen wandered through the market, he noticed, just as Zhao Depeng had said, that there were significantly more cultivators around, whether they were rogue cultivators or members of Beastmaster sects. There were 3 or 4 times as many as before. Finding a secluded spot, Song Wen changed his appearance, transforming himself into a light-footed cultivator at the 7th level of Qi refining. After turning a few corners, he arrived at the Hahuan Heavenly Spring Courtyard. The outside of Hahuan Heavenly Spring Courtyard was bustling with activity, filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation. As Song Wen stepped inside, a lightly dressed young woman immediately approached him. She appeared to be around 20, with an attractive appearance, ample bosom, and a curvy figure, possessing the cultivation level of 6 levels of Qi refining. She hooked her arm around Song Wen's, pressing her ample chest against his right arm. Her eyes sparkled like autumn waters, glimmering with emotion as she gazed at Song Wen. "Young master, I see you're unfamiliar here. Is this your first time?" Her voice was soft and delicate, like a babbling brook, stirring something in Song Wen's heart. In that moment, in that place, Song Wen suddenly understood Ai Kun a bit more. Nodding, he replied, "It's my first time." The woman's eyes brightened as if the first-time visitor to Hahuan Heavenly Spring Courtyard was some extraordinary treasure. "Please follow me, honored guest." The woman seemed to assert her claim, leaning half her body against Song Wen as she led him to the 3rd floor. "My name is Yao. How shall I address you, young master?" "Chen Feiha." Such a resounding name, young master. Upon reaching the 3rd floor, the two entered a fragrant room where Yao seated Song Wen at a table and poured him some drinks. "Honored guest, Yao offers a toast to you." As she spoke, Yao sat directly on Song Wen's lap. He opened his mouth to drink, and as the alcohol flowed down, it was caught by the Saint Armor bug in his abdomen and swallowed, feeling the suppressed desire rise within him. Song Wen's hands instinctively moved to explore Yao's delicate form beneath her thin garment. Sensing the heat beneath him, Yao covered her mouth and giggled lightly. "Young master, you're quite eager." Although Song Wen felt a bit uncomfortable from the buildup of desire, he wasn't mentally affected. Suddenly, he thought that among the comings and goings of the establishment, it was an easy place to gather information, so he asked, "Do you know why there are suddenly so many rogue cultivators in the market?" Yao's expression turned slightly surprised. "Young master, you really don't know?" Song Wen felt somewhat dumbfounded as her reaction suggested something significant had happened that everyone knew about. "I've been in closed-door training for a while and just emerged today." Yao gently twisted her slender waist, pushing against the remaining heat as she spoke. "That makes sense. I thought so. How could anyone not know about such a major event as the end of the righteous versus demonic battle?" The righteous versus demonic battle has ended. Song Wen's voice suddenly rose a few notches. This news was truly shocking to him. Grabbing Yao's wrist with his right hand, he urgently asked, "What was the outcome? Which side won, the righteous or the demonic?" Yao's expression suddenly turned aggrieved, her eyes glistening with tears, looking pitiful. "Young master, you're hurting me." Songwen quickly released her hand. "Hurry and tell me what was the result?" Yao rubbed her slightly reddened wrist before slowly replying, "Actually, it can't be said that the righteous versus demonic battle has ended. It's just that both sides have temporarily ceased hostilities. A little over a month ago, the 5 major sects allied with the Lei family, deploying 9 nascent soul cultivators, and successfully broke through the protective array of the Corpse Demon sect, which had held for 4 years. The Corpse Demon sect has been destroyed." Songwen exclaimed, a hint of surprise in his tone. If the Corpse Demon sect was destroyed, he wouldn't have to worry about retribution from them anymore. Not exactly. Yao shook her head and continued, "When the righteous cultivators entered the Corpse Demon sect, they found that the entire Corpse Demon mountain was already deserted. Everything of value that could be taken had been removed. It said that even some ancient halls had been dismantled and taken away by the Corpse Demon sect. All the core forces of the Corpse Demon sect, the nascent soul elders, golden core experts, and direct disciples were all missing, leaving only some weak outer disciples and miscellaneous servants, who were mostly slaughtered by the righteous cultivators to vent their anger. While the righteous cultivators were looting Corpse Demon Mountain, suddenly a formation activated without warning, trapping all the righteous cultivators who had entered. The 9 nascent soul cultivators from the righteous side combined their efforts, exhausting great amounts of mana to break the formation, only to discover that high-level cultivators from the Corpse Demon sect, Profound Insect, and Bloodfiend sect had launched a surprise attack, catching them off guard. Originally, with 9 Nas soul cultivators, full counterattack of the demonic 3 section's righteous side could have withstood them, but no one expected that the 9 Palaces sect would suddenly betray them and launch a surprise attack from behind, injuring 2 nascent soul masters from the mixed sect and an ancestor from the Lei family. With the 9 Palaces sect's involvement, the strength of the demonic side surged, and under this shift in power, the righteous side was quickly overwhelmed and soon retreated from the demonic faction's territory. Listening to Yao's account, Songwen felt a deep bitterness in his heart. When the Corpse Demon sect retreated, they even took away the ancient palaces, leaving no trace of the soul lamps that contained soul remnants. He still hadn't been able to completely escape the Corpse Demon sect and might face retribution from them at any time. Previously, he had held a sliver of hope, thinking that the Corpse Demon sect wouldn't go to great lengths to pursue a mere outer disciple like him. However, as Songwen learned more about the cultivation world, he began to understand it more clearly. For someone like him, who fled in a time of crisis and betrayed the sect, both righteous and demonic factions would see him as utterly contemptible. If they couldn't execute a few as a warning, how could they expect future disciples to risk their lives for the sect? If they faced danger, they would abandon the sect and flee. According to Yao, the core forces of the Corpse Demon sect had been preserved and their strength hadn't been significantly weakened. Songwen suddenly recalled the time he had escaped the Corpse Demon sect, coincidentally encountering Lu Chan, Zhang Xiaofan, and others who had brutally killed Chen Yi. At that time, Songwen had been puzzled as to why Zhang Xiaofan and his direct disciples were staying away from the Corpse Demon sect during the righteous versus demonic battle. Now it seemed that the Corpse Demon sect had long been making secret preparations. They had quietly sent out some lower-strength direct disciples to protect them, although these disciples weren't strong at the moment. Several years down the line, some of them would grow to become the backbone of the Corpse Demon sect. What was even more surprising was that the 9 Palaces sect had actually betrayed the righteous side and colluded with the demonic side. The 9 Palaces sect's actions had always straddled the line between righteous and demonic, but the mainstream practices within the 9 Palaces sect were still considered righteous. Many disciples secretly trained in the demonic sect's secret techniques. But for hundreds of years, the 9 Palaces sect had claimed to be righteous. What could have prompted the 9 Palaces sect to switch sides and join the demonic factions? Chapter 237. Songwen's thoughts were in disarray, but he felt a strange sensation in his heart. When Yao was recounting the events of the righteous versus demonic battle, there was no sign of indignation or anger on her face. Instead, there seemed to be a hint of schadenfreude. It was important to note that the Hehuan sect was a major righteous sect. If the righteous side suffered defeat, the losses for the Hehuan sect should have been considerable. However, as Yao continued her story, she quickly clarified Song Wen's confusion. The sect that suffered the most during this battle was the Mixed Yuan Temple, followed by the Lei family. The Mixed Yuan Temple's territory was adjacent to that of the Nine Palaces sect. Two of their nascent soul elders were severely injured, leading to the loss of their original territory, which was taken advantage of by the evil factions and Nine Palaces sect, who seized 2 large spirit stone mines and over 10 various smaller mines. Although the Lei family was situated in the heart of the righteous territory and was not plundered by the evil factions, they only had 1 nascent soul cultivator. The injuries suffered during this battle had a significant impact on them. As for the other 3 major righteous sects, Sahuan sect, Beastmaster sect, and Profound Heaven Sword sect, their losses were minimal, with only a few low-level disciples affected. Now, both sides had returned to a situation of relative restraint. The Corpse Demon sect had also returned to Corpse Demon Mountain, which had already been rebuilt. However, due to excessive losses among low-level disciples, they were actively recruiting scattered cultivators and those with spiritual roots who had not yet begun their training to replenish their ranks. At the same time, the Corpse Demon sect issued a proclamation to the cultivation world, stating that anyone who had left their sect for any reason during the righteous versus demonic battle could return to the Corpse Demon sect and all past grievances would be forgiven. Upon hearing this news, Song Wen's heart skipped a beat. At the beginning of the righteous versus demonic battle, the sect had mercilessly slaughtered the miscellaneous disciples. Ordinary disciples were regarded by the higher-ups of the Corpse Demon sect as less than pigs or dogs, equivalent to domesticated livestock. Returning to the Corpse Demon sect after betraying the sect was akin to walking into the tiger's den. Noticing that Song Wen seemed a bit lost in thought, even Yao, who had been wandering about aimlessly, stopped with a sorrowful expression. She pressed her ample chest against Song Wen's face, playfully scolding him. "Let's not talk about such dreary matters. We have precious time together to seize." Saying this, she began to undress, and shortly afterward, soft gasps filled the air. After a while, Yao, feeling somewhat drained, scrambled off the bed. Song Wen, still in a spirited mood, looked quite displeased. "Where are you going?" Yao hastily grabbed a piece of clothing to throw on and muttered complaints. "What kind of monster are you? I've used all my strength and you still remain unyielding. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to find 2 sisters to serve you." With that, she hurriedly tied her waist belt without caring that she was exposing quite a bit and rushed out the door. Just a short distance outside the door, she spotted a woman approaching gracefully. The woman had skin like jade, eyebrows like willows, and eyes like water. Her attire was dignified and ethereal, setting her apart from the other women in the Hahuan Spring Night Tower, who were more alluring and seductive. Yao, in a rush, stopped upon seeing the woman, her face flashing with awe. "Greetings, ancestor, senior sister." The mature woman glanced at Yao's disheveled attire, which hinted at some indecent thoughts, and remarked, "Why are you in such a hurry? What a disgrace." Yao, clearly intimidated by the mature woman, hurriedly explained, "The person inside is too strong for me to handle alone. I wanted to find 2 sisters to help." The mature woman glanced at the room Yao had exited as if some emotion had been stirred. "Oh? Is he really as formidable as you say?" Yao replied. The disciple wouldn't dare speak recklessly. The mature woman continued, "You go on ahead, I'll go take a look myself." Yao looked at the mature woman in shock. "You're going personally?" The mature woman's expression darkened. "What? Do you think I'm too old to be suitable?" Yao's expression turned fearful as she hurriedly responded, "The disciple wouldn't dare. It's just that the person inside only has chi refinement cultivation, which is beneath your status. Move aside." The mature woman swept past Au and headed straight for the room where Song Wen was. Song Wen was in high spirits, but Yao's sudden retreat left him feeling somewhat disconcerted as he anxiously waited. He suddenly saw a graceful woman push open the door and enter. The woman was stunningly beautiful, more captivating than fish sinking or geese falling, but what was even more striking was her extraordinary aura. She moved like a startled swan and flowed like a graceful dragon. Song Wen could hardly believe that such a woman could appear in the Hahuan Tower. He immediately became alert. "Who are you?" The mature woman glanced at Song Wen's lower body. In her bright eyes, a hint of springtime affection surfaced, and an allure began to emanate from her. In an instant, an ethereal fairy transformed into a bewitching enchantress. "Yao is unwell. Let me keep the young master company." Her attire swirled as she stepped forward. In one motion, she pushed Songwon down and leaned over him. Several hours later, the mature woman, having absorbed ample energy, gracefully floated down from the bed, landing at its edge. The scattered clothing on the floor fluttered without wind, automatically rising to adorn her. With lingering sweetness on her face and flirtatious eyes, she gazed at the semi-dreaming Songwon. Her physical body felt light, full of vitality, with rich energy and robust essence. Unfortunately, her cultivation level was a bit low, making it of little benefit to her practice. However, she was somewhat enchanted by the vibrant aura radiating from him, feeling as though she had become lighter as a result. Deep inside, the woman felt a lingering desire and expectation after decades of seclusion. To encounter such a youthful beauty immediately upon leaving was truly worth her time. In Donghua Square, a gray small cloth bag suddenly appeared and landed on the bed, and the woman gracefully exited the room. Outside the room, Aya was waiting by the door. Do not disturb him. Let him rest here properly. Yes. As soon as the mature woman left, Songwon sat up from the bed. His expression was quite complex, filled with both desire and trepidation. The earlier woman was incredibly skilled, providing him with an unprecedented experience. In his previous life, although he had never married, he had dated several girlfriends and was well aware of matters between men and women. The experience he just had offered him a brand new understanding. It was truly transcendent, leaving one craving more. Initially, everything was delightful, but just after the conclusion, a mark quietly settled onto Songwen's body, sending a chill down his spine. This mark was extremely subtle. Normally, with Songwen's level of spiritual awareness, he wouldn't have detected it. Only when the consciousness of his spirit seized black hole activated and attempted to devour the mark did he realize its existence. He immediately controlled the black hole to disperse, knowing that devouring the mark within the Hahuan Tower would surely alert the mature woman. The mature woman displayed cultivation at the 9th level of Qi refinement, yet the mark she left was hidden and difficult to detect, clearly not something a mere Qi refinement cultivator could possess. The mature woman's cultivation was incredibly high. Songwen's spiritual awareness had already reached the peak level of foundation establishment, yet this woman could directly place a mark on him without him noticing. Even an ordinary golden core cultivator would find it challenging to do so. Songwen picked up the gray small cloth bag beside him. It was a storage bag, and probing with his spiritual awareness, he found it contained hundreds of transparent crystal stones, each the size of a fist, medium-grade spirit stones, valued at tens of thousands of low-grade spirit stones. Songwen tucked the storage bag away, got dressed, and exited the room, spotting Ayu still guarding outside the door, causing another wave of nervousness in his heart. Chapter 238. Master Chen, it's getting late and the market has been rather unsettled lately. Why not rest at the Hahuan Tower tonight and leave early tomorrow? Ayao suggested. It was now deep into the night, and outside it was pitch black. Thank you for your kindness, Ayao, but I still have matters to attend to, so I won't trouble you further. Songwen stepped down the stairs and quickly left the Hahuan Heavenly Spring courtyard. He did not return to his residence but headed outside the market, walking for several miles until he found a foothill where he activated his escape light. With one hand gripping the storage bag and the other touching his somewhat weak waist, the image of the mature woman flashed through his mind. Songwen secretly thought, women truly are like red powder and dry bones. The more beautiful they are, the more dangerous they become. From now on, he should keep his distance from women and the Hahuan sect. They were too frightening. After confirming there were no issues with the spirit stones in the storage bag, he transferred them to his storage ring, casually tossing the bag into a crevice between the rocks. Then, he activated the black hole of his spiritual awareness to devour the mark. After doing all this, Songwen activated the blood escape technique and disappeared without a trace in the back courtyard of the Hahuan Heavenly Spring courtyard. Ayao was bowing respectfully. While facing her was the mature woman. Master, that Master Chun has left. At this moment, the mature woman had returned to her ethereal fairy appearance and inquired, is his surname Chun? That young master said his name is Chun Feihe, but whether it's his real name, I don't know. The mature woman nodded non-committally. Suddenly, her expression changed to one of surprise. The mark had vanished. Was he perhaps a disciple of some major sect? Did he have a nascent soul elder behind him to help him eliminate the mark? The next day, in the early morning disguised as Yanfeng, Songwen entered the East Huafeng market, where he purchased some spiritual herbs needed for refining profound qi pills, along with items required for daily living. Before returning to his residence, he arranged the daily living supplies in their expected places, pretending to be someone who often cooked and brewed tea in the underground of his room, Song. When silently dug out a hidden chamber, he set up the spirit concealment formation and 9 palaces in array, and began trying to refine the profound qi pills. Now that he had disguised himself as a late-stage qi refinement alchemist, he was only familiar with blood qi pills and qi gathering pills, which made it somewhat difficult for others to trust him. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. After continuously failing more than 10 times to refine the profound qi pills, Songwen shook his head in frustration. He had exhausted all the medicinal materials for the profound qi pills. Refining the profound qi pills was more difficult than he had imagined. After a moment of closed-eye meditation, Songwen took out the spiritual herbs needed for refining the explosive blood pill. His cultivation had soared, but his foundation was somewhat unstable, so it wasn't advisable to take pills to increase his cultivation temporarily. However, improving the explosive blood pill wouldn't succeed in a short time. It was better to prepare in advance and be ready for any situation. Once his cultivation stabilized, he could research the improvements to the explosive blood pill rather than waiting until the last minute. In his hand was a regular yellow essence mushroom, while the rest had been obtained from the Su family's spirit field, carrying a unique and mysterious aura. He first tried to refine the regular yellow essence mushroom, melting the spiritual herbs and extracting the medicinal liquid, successfully combining various medicinal liquids. However, just as he was about to start condensing the pill, the medicinal liquid suddenly went out of control, and its potency rapidly dissipated. Ah, not again. Songwen sighed lightly. He took out a yellow essence mushroom obtained from the Su family and continued to try again. When he refined the yellow essence mushroom and extracted the medicinal liquid, a trace of energy was also extracted. However, when he attempted to fuse the yellow essence mushroom medicinal liquid with other auxiliary medicinal liquids, there was a loud bang, and the furnace exploded. Songwen was stunned. It was completely unexpected for the fusion step to cause an explosion. Not understanding the reason behind this, he took out another yellow essence mushroom and continued trying again. When he fused the medicinal liquids, the furnace exploded once more. Songwen furrowed his brow. The yellow essence mushroom cultivated by the Su family contained a trace of morning dew energy, which seemed unsuitable for alchemy. It looks like I need to buy some regular yellow essence mushroom, he thought. 2 hours later, Songwen searched through most of the spirit medicine shops and scattered cultivator stalls in the market but couldn't find a single yellow essence mushroom. Instead, he spent over 1,000 spirit stones to buy materials for the profound qi pills. Stepping out of the market, Songwen headed toward the ghost market in the mountain stream. At the witching hour 12 to 3 a.m., Songwen entered the largest spirit medicine shop in the ghost market. "Friend, what kind of spirit medicine are you looking to buy?" asked a middle-aged male cultivator at the 9th level of qi refinement. "Do you have yellow essence mushroom for sale?" Songwen asked. The middle-aged male cultivator glanced around, ensuring there was no one else in the shop, then lowered his voice to reply, "You've come to the right place. I'm the only one in the entire ghost market who supplies yellow essence mushroom regularly. How many do you need with what age of medicinal properties?" Songwen did not doubt the other's words. He had just visited other spirit medicine shops in the ghost market, none of which had yellow essence mushroom for sale. However, he had bought a 30-year-old yellow essence mushroom for 100 spirit stones from a scattered cultivator. That yellow essence mushroom was a chance find for the scattered cultivator in the wild and couldn't be supplied regularly, which wouldn't satisfy Songwen's needs. "Any that are above 20 years old will do," he replied, adding, "The more, the better." The male cultivator said, "I happen to have several yellow essence mushroom here, all 40 years old. How many spirit stones for each?" Songwen asked. 300 spirit stones per stock, the male cultivator quoted. Songwen frowned slightly. "Friend, this price seems a bit steep." He thought a more reasonable price should be around 200 spirit stones. Upon hearing this, the male cultivator didn't speak but instead communicated via sound transmission. "Friend, to be honest, The yellow essence mushroom here is bought at a high price from the Beastmaster sect, and there are only 10 stocks available each month, so the price cannot be low. Songwon said, "Can I take a look at the yellow essence mushroom? If there's no problem, I'll take them all." The male cultivator's eyes brightened and he produced a jade box over 2 feet long, opening a small gap to present it to Songwon. Songwon looked up and saw that the jade box neatly contained several yellow essence mushroom. After confirming there were no issues with the yellow essence mushroom, Songwon raised his hand and a pile of spirit stones floated into the air. The number of spirit stones was exactly 1001. The male cultivator quickly used his spiritual power to catch the spirit stones and stored them in his waist pouch. After putting away the jade box, Songwon asked, "Friend, when will the next batch of yellow essence mushroom arrive? I'll take them all at this price." The male cultivator showed a troubled expression. "Friend, that might not be possible. There's a regular customer who pre-ordered 6 of them. The most I can offer you each month is 4. One of the ones I just sold to you was also left over from last month." Songwon inquired, "When will the yellow essence mushroom arrive? I'll come to pick them up then." The male cultivator replied, "At the beginning of each month, during the night." Songwon nodded and turned to leave the spirit medicine shop. For yellow essence mushroom each month was not enough for him. He was exploring the formula for the explosive blood pill and had a great demand for yellow essence mushroom. Even if he refined pills every 2 days, he would need at least 10 yellow essence mushroom. However, without being able to buy more yellow essence mushroom, Songwon had no other options. He also bought some materials for the beast refining pill, sold a batch of blood spirit crystals, and exchanged them for 10,000 spirit stones. Then he changed his appearance and headed to a shop that sold information. Chapter 239. In the Ghost Market Information Shop, the old man at the counter, whom Songwon had met once before, sat behind the counter. Seeing Songwon enter the shop, the old man did not stand up and asked indifferently, "Friend, what information do you need?" "The latest information on the war between righteous and demonic. 100 spirit stones." Songwon felt a slight disappointment in his heart. This price is too cheap. Such a low price can only mean one thing. The old man's information about the war between righteous and demonic was basically the same as what was circulating in the cultivation world, and it wasn't worth much. Songwon handed over 100 spirit stones and received a jade slip in return. He probed his spiritual sense into the jade slip and quickly scanned through it. Sure enough, as Songwon had expected, the information in the jade slip was essentially consistent with what Yao had said. With not much valuable content, is there any recent information about the corpse demon sect? 500 spirit stones, the old man quoted again. After paying 500 spirit stones, Songwon received another jade slip. According to the information in the jade slip, the corpse demon sect had been rebuilt, reclaiming all of its original territory, and had joined forces with the 9 Palace sect to occupy a large spirit mine in the Mixed Yuan Temple after the war between righteous and demonic. The corpse demon sect only lost 2 golden core elders and 41 foundation establishment cultivators. As for the Qi refinement disciples, the casualties were quite severe. The information estimated that the corpse demon sect lost over 10,000 Qi refinement disciples, with the servant disciples almost entirely dead or injured. Besides the significant loss of low-level disciples, the high-ranking combat power of the corpse demon sect suffered very little damage. Overall, their strength had not been significantly weakened due to the joint occupation of a large spirit mine with the 9 Palace sect. Their strength had subtly increased. The siege of the corpse demon sect by several righteous sects had resulted in such a situation, which was truly unexpected for everyone in the cultivation world. After the war between righteous and demonic, the high-level combat power of the corpse demon sect had hardly suffered any losses. In contrast, the same was true for the righteous sects, with very few golden core cultivators dead. It was as if both sides were in tacit agreement. Without sufficient benefits, golden core experts would not risk their lives in battle. After all, everyone cultivates for longevity, not for the sake of proving their bravery. The information also mentioned that the corpse demon sect had issued a proclamation promising not to pursue past grievances and recalling all lost disciples. However, Songwon did not dare to bet that the corpse demon sect would keep its word. Currently, the corpse demon sect was severely lacking in low-level disciples. Mining, refining corpses, farming, alchemy, corpse resolution, blood cultivation, All these matters required a large number of low-level disciples in order for the sect to operate normally. The corpse demon sect was willing to recruit scattered cultivators. At present, they were short on people, so it was indeed possible that the corpse demon sect would not pursue the responsibilities of those who fled during the battle. But after 3 to 5 years, when the situation might ease, it was hard to guarantee that the corpse demon sect wouldn't settle scores later. After all, servant disciples could all be viewed as training materials and could be slaughtered in large numbers. Putting away the jade slip, Songwen asked, "Is there any information about the longevity technique for the golden core stage?" The longevity technique he had only included methods for the chi refinement and foundation establishment stages. After advancing to the foundation establishment stage, Songwen had begun to inquire about the golden core stage methods of the longevity technique, but so far he had not obtained any useful information. If he couldn't find the follow-up methods of the longevity technique after forming the golden core, he would have to switch to other righteous sect techniques to replace it. However, switching to other righteous sect techniques required first converting the spiritual power cultivated from the longevity technique to be compatible with the new methods. This process was extremely time-consuming and required a large amount of spirit stones. Moreover, switching to other techniques didn't mean he could choose any righteous sect technique. The spiritual power attributes of the new technique had to match the spiritual power attributes of the original technique. For example, someone cultivating a water attribute technique must switch to a technique of the water attribute. A practitioner of the 5 elemental techniques can choose from any of the 5 attributes for their subsequent techniques. If Songwen could continue cultivating the longevity technique, he didn't want to switch to other techniques. Any golden core technique is not something easily obtained, the old man said. "Consider this information a free gift to you, friend. As far as I know, in the cultivation world, there are 3 places that possess the golden core methods of the longevity technique: the Beastmaster sect, the Profound Heaven Sword sect, and the Hahuan sect." Songwen clasped his fists. "Thank you. These 3 major sects are all righteous sects and are indeed the most likely to possess the golden core methods of the longevity technique. Since the Hahuan sect does not accept male disciples, if Songwen wanted to obtain the subsequent techniques of the longevity technique, he could only seek them from the Beastmaster sect and the Profound Heaven Sword sect. At the first watch of the day, the moon was bright and the stars were few. Using the moonlight as a guide, Songwen returned to the rented courtyard. He entered the underground secret chamber and began to refine pills. The first pill he refined was the beast refining pill. Due to a lack of spiritual herbs, Songwen had not refined the beast refining pill for some time. The sacred goo had gotten used to eating the beast refining pill, and recently it had been fed bright silver stones, which made it quite displeased, often conveying its complaints to Songwen. The ironback turtle's monster body and flesh had been eaten up by the sacred goo 3 times, resulting in the sacred goo's strength growing rapidly. Not far from breaking through to the mid-second stage, after refining for 9 days, Songwen produced 3 batches of beast refining pills, yielding a total of 24 pills. Refining pills consumed a lot of mental energy, so Songwen closed his eyes and sat in meditation, adjusting his breathing. At that moment, the sacred goo, which was on guard outside, suddenly transmitted a message. 3 cultivators from the Beastmaster sect had entered the courtyard of Zhao Depeng across the way. The leader was a mid-stage foundation establishment female cultivator. Zhao Depeng had a face full of eager flattery. Leading the 3 into the small courtyard, "Elder Xia, 2 inner disciples, please have a seat," Zhao Depeng said. Pointing to the chairs in the courtyard, Elder Xia had a calm demeanor and did not take a seat. "Elder Xia is busy and doesn't have time to delay here. Take us to see the living corpse." Zhao Depeng nodded repeatedly. "Elder Xia, please follow me." Under Zhao Depeng's guidance, the 3 entered the secret chamber located beneath the side room. The rat-eyed man, who was neither human nor corpse, showed his teeth and glared when he saw the 4 enter the secret chamber, appearing like a furious beast whose territory had been invaded. In the depths of his eyes, there was no trace of human rationality, only the instincts of an animal. The rat-eyed man crouched down, moving quickly, like a spider ready to pounce, rushing towards Zhao Depeng, who was closest. Zhao Depeng raised his hand and sent out a wave of spiritual energy, easily repelling the rat-eyed man. but it only pushed him back without injuring him at all. Seeing the rat-eyed man's terrifying appearance, Elder Xia's eyes sparkled with excitement. I didn't expect that after the ruin of the body, losing all cultivation, just relying on a body nourished by spiritual energy. He could withstand the corruption of corpse energy to such an extent. The corpse energy has begun to merge with the vitality. Elder Xia waved his hand, and a black coffin flew out. On the coffin lid were the words, Ding No 97. Elder Xia unleashed a wave of spiritual energy, sealing the struggling and roaring rat-eyed man inside the black coffin. Throwing a storage bag to Zhao Deping, Elder Xia said, "You did well. This is a reward for you. For the next step, you can find some strong-bodied mortals or martial artists to continue the experimentation. If there are results, Elder Xia will not be stingy with rewards." Chapter 240. Zhao Deping had a joyful expression. The storage bag contained 2,000 spirit stones and 100 profound qi pills. This was enough for him, a qi refining 8th layer practitioner, to cultivate for quite some time. "Thank you, Elder Xia. For the reward, I will do my utmost to fulfill the Elder's instructions." Elder Xia nodded slightly, not putting the black coffin into her storage ring, but dragging it with one hand as she walked out. Once outside the chamber, she summoned a flying boat and took off. After sending Elder Xia away, Zhao Deping hurriedly left the small courtyard. He needed to find the merchants in the marketplace to arrange for a few strong mortal men or martial artists to come over. Song Wen observed this scene and understood. Zhao Deping was cultivating living corpses under the direction of the Beastmaster sect. Previously, he had seen Zhao Deping oppress the orphans next door just to find a partner for his younger brother. At that time, Song Wen thought Zhao Deping treated his brother relatively well. Perhaps it was driven by profit, or maybe over the years, Zhao Deping had grown weary of caring for his foolish brother, leading him to choose cruel methods to turn his brother into a half-human, half-monster living corpse. During the 3 years of cultivating living corpses, his foolish brother had undoubtedly suffered tremendous torment, a cruelty that was horrific. If it had been a normal-minded person, they likely would have long been unable to endure the suffering and chosen to end their own life. But why was the Beastmaster sect going to such great lengths to cultivate living corpses? Also, what was the essence of that living corpse, which fused both corpse energy and vitality? After resting for a moment, Song Wen continued to refine pills. He first tried to refine explosive blood pills. Taking out the yellow essence mushroom he had purchased, just as he was about to begin refining, a thought suddenly crossed his mind. He still had over 1,000 stalks of special yellow essence mushroom containing vitality in his storage ring. These yellow essence mushroom stalks were different from ordinary ones and seemed unsuitable for pill refining. Recalling the scene from before, when the silver corpse refined over 100 stalks of special yellow essence mushroom and showed signs of blood veins, Song Wen made a decision in his heart. He decided to use all of these yellow essence mushroom stalks to nurture the silver corpse. Perhaps it would yield unexpected surprises. A month later, Song Wen walked into the Flowing Clouds Pharmacy. This was the largest pharmacy opened by the Beastmaster sect in the East Huafeng marketplace. Seeing Song Wen enter, a beautiful maid approached him. "Senior, may I ask what kind of pill you wish to buy?" Song Wen replied, "I'm not here to buy pills. I've come to sell pills. May I ask, Senior, what pills you wish to sell?" "Profound Qi pills." The maid said, "Please wait a moment. The Profound Qi pill is a top-grade first-level pill, and I do not have the authority to decide on the purchase myself. I will go and request the manager to come." A moment later, guided by the maid, a white-bearded old man approached Song Wen. "Friend, I've heard you have Profound Qi pills for sale?" Song Wen nodded, reaching to his waist and retrieving a jade bottle. The old man smiled warmly. "Friend, don't be in a rush. Let's go to my study to discuss this in detail." With the old man leading the way, the two quickly arrived at an elegant study. After sitting down, the old man said, "Friend, please take out the Profound Qi pills. Before we trade, I need to verify the quality of the pills." It was common knowledge in the cultivation world that the store would check the quality of pills before purchasing them. Songwon had no objections and handed the jade bottle to the old man. The old man took the jade bottle and poured out a pill. The pill had a pure color, ample spiritual energy, and emitted a refreshing fragrance. The old man's face lit up with a smile. Friend, the quality of the pills you refined is quite good. If all the profound chi pills in your possession are of this quality, our Flowing Clouds pharmacy will take them all. Songwon waved his hand again, and 2 more jade bottles landed on the low table in front of him. Together with the one he had previously handed to the old man, there were 3 jade bottles, each containing 30 profound chi pills. The white-bearded old man examined the other 2 bottles of pills, then spoke. Each profound chi pill is worth 5 spirit stones. I wonder if you are satisfied with this price? Upon hearing this, Songwon frowned slightly. On the market, the selling price for profound chi pills is around 10 spirit stones each. If the pharmacy buys at 5 spirit stones, they can make a 100 profit on each sale. The cost of the spirit herbs needed to refine a batch of profound chi pills is about 12 spirit stones for an average first-level alchemist. The success rate for refining profound chi pills is roughly 50%, resulting in 6 pills per batch. Calculating this, the cost to produce a single profound chi pill is about 4 spirit stones. The alchemist, working hard to refine, would only earn 1 spirit stone in profit per pill, far less than the profits the pharmacy makes selling the pills. Songwon shook his head. If you can only offer 5 spirit stones, I'll have to find other buyers. As he spoke, Songwon pretended to put away the 3 jade bottles. Wait a moment, friend. The white-bearded old man hurriedly stopped him. If you're not satisfied with the purchase price, we can negotiate. How about 6 spirit stones? Songwon continued to shake his head. 7 spirit stones? I can't go higher. That's the best price I can offer. Even the alchemists we regularly work with can only get this price. Songwon sat down again and took out the 3 jade bottles. Fine then. The identity of an alchemist was just a cover for Songwon. He didn't rely on it for a living. Since the old man offered a reasonable price, he decided not to linger on the negotiation. Moreover, Songwon simply didn't have the time to set up a stall and sell profound chi pills. Thank you for being so straightforward. The white-bearded old man put away the 3 jade bottles and took out 210 spirit stones to give to Songwon. My name is Ning Feng. May I ask how to address you, friend? After the transact, the old man asked with a friendly expression. I'm Yen Feng. It's a pleasure to meet you, Brother Ning. In this marketplace, I know all the alchemists who can refine profound chi pills. You look unfamiliar, so you must be new to the East Huafeng marketplace? I arrived at the East Huafeng marketplace just a month ago, and I hope to count on your guidance in the future, Ning friend. Ning Feng stroked his silver beard and smiled warmly. Don't worry, Master Yen. I have some influence in this marketplace. If you encounter any difficulties, feel free to come to me. I will definitely help in any way I can. Songwon cupped his hands in thanks. Thank you, friend. 5 days from now, in the backyard of the Flowing Clouds pharmacy, there will be a gathering for alchemists. Would you like to attend, Master Yen? Thank you for the invitation, Ning friend. I will definitely be there on time. Time passed. In the next 2 years, Songwon focused on cultivating in the marketplace. He lacked for nothing in spirit stones and didn't need to venture out to search for resources required for his cultivation. Moreover, he avoided trouble. Even if some conflicts arose, he managed to evade them. Life during these 2 years was quite peaceful. During these 2 years, he attended several gatherings hosted by Ning Feng for alchemists, getting to know some scattered alchemists and mastering 3 new first-level pill refining techniques. His alchemical skills became increasingly refined, and his understanding of alchemy deepened after more than 2 years of consolidation. The issues with the spiritual energy of longevity technique being unstable and lacking a solid foundation were mostly resolved. However, he still hadn't succeeded in the research for the explosive blood pill with only 4 stalks of yellow essence mushroom available each month. His progress on developing the explosive blood pill was severely limited. In 2 years, he had only made about 100 attempts. It's worth mentioning that a year and a half ago, Songwon had purchased suitable strong poisons from a scattered cultivator in the black market. After arriving at the East Huafeng marketplace, he had been busy refining blood qi pills and improving his cultivation of longevity technique, leading to the neglect of 10,000 poisons body. Now that he had acquired suitable poisons, he could finally start refining 10,000 poisons body again.